All right. Hey, everybody. How's it going today? Come on in here. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Hello, hello. Oh, high expectations coming in, ready to be dazzled. Well, I hope that I can deliver for you guys. I'm excited to be on for our pep talk today. Hey, Deborah. We are going to be talking about how to know if your book's any good. And honestly, I cannot tell you how honored I am to be the one chosen from the team to talk about this because I feel like most of us, if we have written for any period of time, have thought about this a great deal. And if we're being honest with ourselves, doubt whether our book is any good. So, we're going to be talking about how to know if our book is any good for ourselves, what to do with the pieces that maybe aren't where we want them to be, and what to do to sort of combat the imposter syndrome side of this that creeps in, because there's a legitimate concern from an editing and writing perspective on making sure that our pieces meet our reader expectations. But we don't want that to become something that's paralyzing and keeps us from writing altogether, right? We've got to find balance. So I'm curious to know how many of you who are on right now um, aren't sure, genuinely, if you're being honest with yourself and with us, you're willing to share, you're not sure if what you're writing is any good. Yes, this will absolutely be recorded. It will remain right here at this same link on YouTube. Yeah, not alone. 1000% never sure. Me. Hands are in the air. Okay, so I'm definitely not alone. So you might be wondering then, well, how do we objectively analyze our own work? And better than that, if we can't even trust ourselves to not self-sabotage enough to give ourselves an honest opinion of our book, why are we trying to objectively analyze our own work? Our first gut reaction might be to seek out somebody else to tell us our work is good. But I'm going to tell you why this is not a good idea. If the reason you are seeking out another person's critique is because you feel like your book is trash, you're not sure if it's trash, and you want an opinion, 9 times out of 10, you are not going to believe them if they tell you that the book is good. You're not. And you are, if you do believe them when they say your book is good, you're not going to necessarily know what to do with that feedback. It's going to be very, very difficult. So if the reason for asking the critique is to say, is it good or not? Because I think it's trash, you're not going to believe them. Let's just be totally honest. That's why we need to convince ourselves. We need to be objective ourselves. And then we use those same people. If they say parts of it aren't good, then we go, see, I'm terrible. And we use it as an excuse to enable us to walk away. This is why I recommend waiting to get that feedback from other people until you can objectively view your piece yourself as best you can. And then when you realize that you've stepped away enough to objectively analyze your own work, then you might have a chance of believing what your editors and beta readers are telling you about what they love about the piece, right? So how do we do this? How are we supposed to step back and take our feelings out of the equation and objectively, honestly figure out whether or not we have written something that we would consider a failure or something that has potential to grow? I'm going to give you some exact steps here today. All right. Number 1 is let your story breathe. You may have heard this from us in the past in classes and things like that, but letting your story breathe is the most important step to getting started on objectivity when you are analyzing your book. Because while you're in the moment, you're all wrapped up in the emotions and you're all wrapped up in the feeling, you aren't going to be able to see beyond your personal interpretation of that book the way a reader who knows nothing about it would pick it up and read it. So you need to step away. For some of us, that's a day. For some of us, that means that we, sit around and write something else for 2, 3, 4 months. If you can't emotionally disconnect enough to be objective in just a day, then give it the time it needs, because you will mostly be able to give yourself that objective feedback with distance when you're rediscovering your book, when you started to forget what you wrote, right? And come back to it. I love that Reed says that you put it in a drawer for 6 months, right? Yep. 6 months. uh, I don't necessarily recommend 6 months. As a writer now who's gotten my groove, once you've done it a few times, you can put it down, do something else for a week, come back, and it doesn't hurt so bad. But you need to let the story breathe so that you can let your brain get out of page blindness mode, which means that you're going to autocorrect holes and things like that because you're too close to the story. And it will also give you a fresh perspective, like you're reading it for the first time. And there's going to be good and bad in here. There is going to be good scenes that you go, oh, did I write that? Did that come out of my head? No way. And then there's going to be scenes that you go, ooh, what was I drinking that day? I'm pretty sure I just had root beer, but I'm starting to wonder. We can see that more objectively once we've stepped away. Once you've let your story breathe, consider editing tools that will help you objectively analyze your piece so that you're not solely living inside of your head. This is really helpful if you don't necessarily want another human to see it yet, but you also don't know if you'll catch everything yourself in an objective way. You do not have to use generative AI tools that are going to write or rewrite any part of your book for you. You can use like AutoCrit's backwards blueprint, which is our reverse outlining tool. We have a whole video on how to do that in our AutoCrit 101 series. I'll put that link up here in our playlist in the chat. It's in the description box as well, or should be. But you could use a tool like that will just say, hey, here's what you've written so far. Here's your characters, your world building information, your plot, things like that. You could use something else. You could use a mix where you're bringing in a Microsoft Excel sheet and filling it all out. Although I've been there and done that. You guys who have been in my editing courses have seen it. It is slow going to do that. But having these editing tools will get outside of your head. It keeps you from getting too deep into the process. And then it lets you look at it without touching it. Don't revise it yet. You should not be revising while you hate something. You should be making notes for yourself. It's sort of like how you don't punish a child while you're mad at them. You step away and come back when you're a little calmer in your head. Same thing for your revisions. Don't take the hatchet to it quite yet. Step away, let yourself breathe, leave yourself some notes, and then come back and fix it. Remember that when you're looking for something to help you, you're looking for editorial guidance, not something that takes over creative control. Because if you get into having a tool rewrite for you, it can actually fuel this negative image of yourself that an AI writes better than you. I write so badly that this AI writes better than me. And it takes away your feeling that you're capable of doing this. So look for editorial tools that will not rewrite, that keeps you front and center in your driver's seat for your creative piece, and then helps you see how to fix it. Now, when you get started, whether you're using a tool or not, I recommend starting with a reverse outline. That could be AutoCrit's backwards blueprint in the analyzer. That could be your Microsoft Excel sheet. That could be sticky notes all over your wall like a horrible crime scene. You need to figure out what you actually put on the page so far. And while you're doing with this, you have to be honest. You're going to hear me say honest several times today. Have to be honest with yourself. What did you actually write? Not what you meant to write, not what you could write, not what it could be. What is there right now? Where is your plot right this second? Where are your characters? Which ones do you like? Which ones do you hate? Why do you like the ones that you do? Why do you hate the ones you do? All of these things add into these petulant question hat. I feel like you need to just go get a petulant question hat and put it on and be like, from this second on, I can ask myself as many annoying little questions that future me won't want to answer as possible. And you write all of them down and then you answer them, right? Which character do you spend the most time with on the page? How do you feel about that person? How do you feel about their reactions? If you don't like them, why are you writing them? Are they a villain? In which case, all right, maybe they're supposed to be unlikable. If they're the main character, What is it about them that keeps you from wanting to get in that headspace? Are readers going to care about them? Are you going to care about them? Do you want to see where they end up going? Or is the plot more important to you than how the character grows as a result of your plot? All the little questions. Be honest with yourself. Even if you lie to everybody else and you never admit to readers how tough it was, at least be honest with yourself here. This level of honesty is what is going to allow you to be objective about your piece. Because then you can say, you know what? This main character does suck. They're not likable. I don't like writing them. I feel like they're boring. Every time I get to their scene, I just wish I was back in the villain scene. You know what, you guys? That could be a flag that maybe you should be writing a book from the villain's POV. Or maybe you should take your current book with your current main character and think about what it is you like so much about your villain, and can you capture that essence and put it through the main character's view for them. Not make them the villain, but the same kinds of details, the same kinds of information you gave us about the villain to make us care about them. Maybe that should be brought on the page for your main character. So we are looking for petulant, deep, painful questions about why we've made the decisions we did. You guys have heard me say so many times that I had a 5 or 6 page pickling scene in my debut epic fantasy novel that I cut out because it was a darling. And I put a lot of work into that pickling scene, I'll have you know. But my dev editor was exactly right when she said, I don't need to walk away from an epic fantasy book knowing how to pickle something. That little scene, that little comment then made me think, oh, do I need it? Why does this matter so much to me? It matters so much to me because it brings up memories of someone I love teaching me to pickle things, and someone who was not doing well with their health at that time, and I felt like it was honoring to them. And then I had to remind myself, your readers won't know that. Your readers don't care about that. Your readers are here to pick up your piece. Maybe you could honor that by moving that to a deleted scene, which you then give out later on after much, much heckling from the readers wanting it, right? But if I wasn't honest with myself saying, this is why I want that scene in there, I wouldn't have had the ability to go, you know what? It isn't serving the story. It's serving a personal need, and I'm not deleting it forever, but I am taking it out of the story because that is what is keeping this story's pace dragged down. And then finally, we need to change our perspective a little bit. Once your book is written, it is no longer part of you. I cannot tell you as a dev editor how many times I hear writers, they come to me and they go, well, you're spot on, but I hate it. I feel like you're picking me apart. I feel like you're attacking me. This is no longer part of you. My book is no longer part of me. Once your book is out on the page, we have to let it go. We're giving it freely to other people. That means it deserves to be polished into the best version of itself that it can be. So don't take this as a huge resolution and you have to change who you are as a person to make this work. We need to change this mentality to, I poured this out. There's a part of me represented on the pages, but it isn't me. And when I change how the characters act, how the characters talk, where the plot goes, where the story develops, it isn't a reflection that my life is not good enough or that I am not good enough as a person and that the part of me on the page isn't likable, isn't relatable. We're talking about the story as its own unique creative work. Okay, so this is the biggest thing. Change your perspective. You're not attacking yourself. You are good enough. You are fine. You are changing your book to meet reader expectations and to give readers a clearer image of the vision you're trying to give them, not to change who you are as a person. All right. So when is the phrase, my work is trash and I'm trash, false? When imposter syndrome creeps in. You're not good enough. Your book can never be good enough. This AI could write better than you. That other author, who we're not going to talk about the fact has been writing 15 or 20 years, writes better than you. That is all imposter syndrome. It's not objective. It doesn't serve your art. It isn't going to teach you how to become better. It's solely meant to tear you down with no constructive element to it at all. That is false reasons. Those are false reasons for accepting the lie that your piece isn't good enough. When you confuse inexperience for incapability, you are tripping over that line from what your book could actually need improvement on into a personal thing. Remember, you're still connected. You're standing in the mirror looking at yourself and feeling like the book is that mirror of you. Your book needing revisions is not a sign of failure. It is okay for your first draft to need work. Everybody's first draft needs work. So if you haven't written much before, you're just now learning to self-edit, you're just now putting a draft on the page, don't expect perfection. Unrealistic self-expectations is that expectation that my first draft is going to be perfect, or at least not need much. We might say, okay, I know perfection isn't realistic, even though that's secretly what we want. We might say, though, that, hey, I don't want any big plot-related points, right, that are going to come up. When we see failure instead of potential, we have shifted from the actual objective content and analysis, and we're shifting into personal. We're going back in our own heads. The book is now a mirror for us. I am a failure versus this scene could be rewritten better. Seeking external validation for an internally driven craft is going back to where we opened up as well today. Why you don't go look for a human piece of feedback on your work before you can objectively view it yourself, because you are asking for approval that you won't believe, or you are accepting their points about ways you could improve as validation of your failure. And all the time, it's internally driven. So I want everyone here who is struggling with, is my work good enough? Am I good enough? Am I worthy? To stop a second and think about the potential your book has. Okay. Stop using potential for growth as the thing you use for fuel for your self-sabotaging tendencies. If you know deep down in that honest place that you don't share with anybody else that you don't think you can do this, and you're looking for self-sabotaging things to validate that with, there is a temptation to use the edit your book needs as the fuel for that self-sabotaging voice, for your imposter syndrome. Stop. Put it aside. I am separate. My book is separate. I am going to tackle my book and give it the edits it needs because it has nothing to do with me as a person. All right. But when is it true? So now we've talked about all the mental things, most of them shifting back on us instead of looking at the book itself that we are trying to judge. When is it actually true that your work isn't up to par, that it does need work, that if you put it out this way, readers are not going to like it? Because I'm not going to sit here and lie to you and say that all the drafts that come across my desk are perfect. If they don't get adjusted, if they don't get revisions, readers are not going to leave them great reviews. They have to be polished up, you guys. So there are times where it's going to be true that your book is not ready to go out the way it is. When is that the case, though? When you have objective facts showing room for improvement about your book that is not about you. Not a single one of these things are about us as people, that are solely about the book. Then stop. Then say, I have objectively seen that I have a pacing issue in my book. It feels super rushed. It feels super slow. My characters aren't really likable. They're not really relatable. They just feel like they're there to move the plot along. My world building details are missing. Characters are just sort of floating around doing their own thing, and we don't know where they are. We don't know what they're doing. The plot has gaping holes in it. I am a pantser. Yay, pantsers! We're pantsers, and we don't know where the book is going. And by the end, we realize that our ending now creates holes we have to go back and fix, and it's a lot to take in. The foundation, what I call the bones of most people's stories, the main idea, is almost always worth writing. I have had only a couple story ideas in my entire life that I read and thought, what did I just read? And most of that was because of clarity, just missing clarity. but almost every single story's foundation is worth writing. So the point then lies in how do you flesh it out? World building, character development, how the plot progresses, the pace at which readers go through the story, those elements to your writing is what fleshes out the bones of your book's skeleton. So you could have a book that has a really good, strong brain, the world building and the thought processes are all fleshed out, but we can't see any of the characters, and they don't grow as people. The heart is missing, and we need to add that back in. So if I summarize all of these two sections for you, if the core reason you think your work is not good enough is internally driven, it's internally focused, it's more about you than the book itself, then those are probably false. And you need to try the steps we talked about earlier, letting the story breathe, doing a reverse outline, putting on your petulant question hat to get down to the heart of what is actually going on in your story. Get the story back front and center. If, on the other hand, your concerns are objective facts, they are not about you, they're about things you found in the story itself, then it's okay to start bringing in other people to help you brainstorm, or use brainstorming tools that don't write for you but give you some feedback that keep you in that creative control. Because again, you're not empowering yourself by saying, well, my idea is good but my writing is bad, so I'm not going to write this myself. That is not the goal of writing. We are writers at our core, so let's own it. Let's own it. I want to leave you guys with one final thought here, and then I'm going to answer any questions that you have. But I want to talk about the beauty of what I affectionately call my garbage drafts. I'm a perfectionist, and my tendency to want perfection is something that drives me to procrastination and drives my imposter syndrome on a big, big level. The beauty of a garbage draft in my head is this concept that it doesn't matter how the first draft turns out, because I can fix it in post. It doesn't matter if the characters aren't deep enough. It doesn't matter if the world building needs to be added on. It doesn't matter if I had a plot hiccup or a gaping hole that crept up somewhere. So I can give myself mental permission, mental freedom to throw things in there and just let it be what it's going to be. And just go, oh, it's okay. It's my garbage draft. That is the first step in my objectivity about analyzing my books. When I wrote my debut epic fantasy and sent it off for a human dev edit, I was not prepared. I wondered if my book was any good. I was not in a good mental place to be sending it out. I got the feedback and I didn't write for a calendar year. And then my husband was like, you realize that having a lot of work to do and getting critiques does not mean your work is trash. And after that, over the years, I've started shifting into this mindset. It doesn't have to be perfect. This can be my garbage draft. This can be my garbage draft. This is my garbage draft. And I love Pocahontas, okay? And so I imagine that Miko is sitting in the back of my little mental trash can, and I'm just feeding Miko all day long. Just throwing stuff to Miko. And I'm like, okay, Miko, here you go. My cute little trash panda. I love you. Here is my garbage draft in all its beauty. And because I view it that way, I've built in objectivity going in. And when I'm ready to do my first reverse outline, I'm ready to start developmental editing, it no longer hurts so bad. And it's not about me being good enough anymore, because I'm not setting those unrealistic expectations on the piece. Kat Campbell over on Team Planner calls her first drafts her reckless drafts, the drafts where she's allowed to write whatever the heck she wants, right? And it will become whatever the heck it needs to be. So whether you think about the beauty of garbage drafts or reckless drafts for your own process, I highly recommend giving yourself permission, no matter what term you want to put on it, to say, this is a story, and I love this story, and I love these characters, and I love these people. That's why I'm writing, is the love of this thing. I don't expect the craft side to be perfect, and I will come back to this and revise it and make it stronger later using those tips. I will objectively analyze my work. I will pinpoint the actual issues I need to fix in my reverse outline, in my developmental editing, and then I will come back and seek external help once I'm in a mental place that sets me up for success to do so. All right. So I shared earlier that we have a AutoCrit 101 series here on YouTube that will walk you through how to reverse outline, how to do a developmental edit of your piece. If you're participating in Novel 90, we're getting ready to go into editing phase. That means that we're going to be facing these editing hurdles just head on. And I don't want any person, not a single one on Team Pantser, on Team Planter, on Team Planner, to wonder at this point, should I even have bothered? Was this even worth it? Was this even for me? The answer is yes, you should have bothered. Writing is an art. Art gets better the more you do it. So don't expect perfection. Instead, let's look for opportunities, right? All right. Thank you so much for the super chat, Axel. Sending everyone energy for their garbage drafts. Yes, we can do this. All right. Today at 2 p.m. Eastern, AutoCrit has a free office hour session where we're going to be talking about what the scores inside of AutoCrit means. And I have put that link over there in the chat. If you're watching the replay way in the future, don't worry. We have office hours every single Tuesday at 2. If you start trying AutoCrit as your tool, then you can pop into these sessions on Tuesdays and ask us any questions about scores, about what they mean, about what to use the feedback for, right? Let's see. What questions, though, do you have while we're here? Because we still have a couple minutes. And it's okay. You're not ready for an editing phase? That's fine. Some of us are going to be writing through the editing phase and then using the fall Novel 90 challenge, which is already up for pre-order or for pre-registration. I got books on the brain, you guys. It's already up for pre-registration. See if I can find the link. To be the one that finishes it out, because you can bring a book that's in progress to our Novel 90 challenges. So here is the link to the fall one. So you could go ahead and register. That kicks off in October. You could get as much drafting done as you want right now and then come on for the fall and let's get it finished and have a finished book by December 31st. Another example of petulant questions. So I'd like to take these in chunks. Petulant questions are going to start with the plot for me. Let's take these into 4 chunks. Your plot, your pacing, your world building, your character development. Plot petulant questions. Why did they do that? Why didn't they do this? What if they had done this instead? What if this was from the villain's point of view? What if this was from the other person's point of view? What if I gave them a cat? Little questions to try to throw yourself off these things. Why did they have to do that? Why was this their response? Why did they think the way they did? You're grilling yourself to make sure that you are on track with where you want the plot to go. Characters are the same way. Hey, main character, how are you feeling today? Wonderful. And every time I interview my main characters for a writing inspiration purpose, I feel like what's his name in Princess Bride, who hooks Wesley up to the machine, and then he goes, "You just lost this many years of your life. Tell me, how do you feel?" The main character just goes, right? But the point of petulant questions is to get a clear view for what we've written and why exactly we wrote it. That will also give us easy reference notes to go back to if we need to fix something. Reverse outline means to take an outline or a beat sheet and put the main plot points of your story onto there to see if you have any holes, if you have anything that's out of order. And you can also add to it, which I recommend, character description, character wants, needs, fears, the character arc so far of the story. Have they had any growth points yet in one of the crisis moments? Things like that, so that you can figure out where you need to expand in your base. Let's see. How to fill world building holes. It's close to impossible. So there's 2 levels of world building, your big picture and your immediate scene setting level world building. For me personally, the immediate scene setting level is the one where the most of my holes are, because I get wrapped up in a big fight scene and I forget about the smell. I forget about the sounds. I forget about bodies falling around the other people. I forget about everything else that should be going on in the periphery for the main character, and I just focus about them and their opponent. So when you get into that immediate scene setting level, ask yourself, do I describe what time of day it is, where they are, what the aura is in there? Is it dark and dank and quiet and broody? Is it upbeat and happy, people dancing on the tables? Is there music around? What are people doing around them? Are they getting stares? Is anybody trying to eavesdrop? On the big picture level, you want to breadcrumb trail in your big picture world building, like your political system, religious systems, cultural expectations. You don't want to dump them all at one time. Instead, find places with a lot of dialogue or a lot of fast-paced action and sprinkle in a little bit here and there. Why do they use that kind of sword instead of a spear or, a knife or arrows? What is it that drew them to that? What kind of sword is it? Where do they get the materials from? Just little sprinkles. A sentence here, a sentence there will avoid that info dumping and bring your big picture world building back in. Oh, thanks, Axel. Yeah. And you reverse outline to see what you actually wrote, not what you intended to write. Did I hear the real story or just what version? I love that. All right. Make sure I got everything. Okay, you guys. What are the elements in a story that can be criticized objectively? You're looking to, let me bring this back up. You're looking to criticize objectively your plot, your pacing, how relatable your characters are, as well as their arc. Is it believable? Whether you have world building that is unexplained, like, oh, well, that's just the way their world works. Why? The immediate scene setting level of your world building. But you're also looking for inconsistencies where you said that, hey, the force can be used by anybody, says Yoda. It doesn't matter the size. Anybody can use it. It's everywhere. Prequel comes along. You have to have this many midichlorians to use the force. We're avoiding potholes. And I do love Star Wars. My child's first nursery was Star Wars. I just can't help myself. How to not over-explain world building. Ask yourself, Francine, how much does the reader have to know right this second to understand the very next plot point that's going to happen on the page? If we don't need to know everything that you have right now, then cut out what we don't have to have and introduce it later when a more relevant plot point or character development point comes up where we do need that information. Yeah, don't forget about typos. Objectively looking for typos. Okay. Well, you guys, I know this has been a lot. I'm so glad that you stuck with me. I truly believe in you. I truly believe in your story. And I hope that you find the way to believe in your story's potential yourself and shift this mentality from, is my writing good enough, being a actual question for, am I worthy of writing, into something that shows your book's actual potential for growth, because everybody's book needs improvement, especially in the first draft. I know we had some questions that I didn't get to. If you're coming to office hour right after this, I will be happy to get it. That is, again, free. It's on the AutoCrit calendar, and it says office hour. And world building is extremely easy with first person. I love first person. Go read Hunger Games, because we get the deepest POV we can possibly get. The smells, the sounds, the sights. You don't have to have them notice everything on the big picture level. Katniss was sort of oblivious to some of the things going on in her world, but she pieced things together later on and then thought back over what things actually meant now that she knew it, right? So that's something you could do if you're worried about them missing that big picture level. All right, you guys, take care. I will see you guys on the next one. Best of luck. Bye, everybody.